All right, man, peace. So in the aftermath of future Hall of Famer, supreme athlete, and crackhead fiend for triple-doubles, Russell Westbrook, once again making sure and certifying that he will average a triple-double for the second consecutive season, Mr. Colin Cowherd had a very excellent soliloquy pertaining to Mr. Russell Westbrook and the inner workings of his mind, as well as how he's perceived by his compatriots in the NBA. I want you guys to pay very close attention to what Mr. Colin Cowherd is going to show, including that Russell Westbrook, in the process of getting his 20 rebounds last night, actually blocked out his own teammate, Carmelo Anthony. In addition to that, he has great sideline footage of Steph Curry and Kevin Durant cracking up at Russell Westbrook on the basketball court as he tries in vain to get a triple-double. I tell you, it's really hilarious. Anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Neither do I.
Never have. Things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
Because people want them to happen.
Absolutely, sir.
What do you know? Russell Westbrook sealed a second straight triple-double season by grabbing 20 rebounds, a career high. Russell Westbrook is really talented. He's played in 748 career NBA games.
Russell Westbrook is extremely talented. He's one of the top 5 most naturally talented players I've ever seen in the NBA. In my almost 30 years of watching NBA basketball, I first started watching NBA basketball in the 89-90 season. Watched it being cognizant of exactly what I was watching and knowing all the rules in the 90-91 season, starting from there. He's one of the top 5 most naturally gifted and talented overall players that I've ever seen.
Games. What a zany coincidence. Last night he needed 16 rebounds, and last night in 748 career basketball games as a pro, he set his personal rebounding record. Oh, what a kid.
Congratulations to Russell Westbrook, the crackhead fiend for triple-doubles of the NBA. And once again, he is one of the top 5 most talented athletes I've ever seen in the NBA. He's also a nut job. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, it's a that. It means a lot to him. Stats mean a lot to him.
Absolutely.
They didn't to Bill Russell. They didn't to Michael.
I don't agree with that. I believe that stats mean a lot to every player, especially the great players, because that's how you quantify your greatness. I don't think that every player is as hung up on numbers as other players, but every player wants to get their numbers. So do I believe that Bill Russell looked at his stat sheet some nights and said, oh, wow, I got 40 rebounds? Of course he did. Do I believe that he kept track of how many rebounds Wilt Chamberlain may have gotten that night? Of course he did, because you're competitive. Bill Russell used to vomit before every game. You don't do things like that unless you're super ultra competitive. Michael Jordan would keep track of some of his numbers. Steve Smith, who's currently an analyst on NBA TV, he stated on one of their little specials that they had pertaining to reflecting back to 90s basketball that in one game he was guarding Michael Jordan, and every time Michael made a basket, he would count down. So Michael made a basket, he said 38. He made a three-point shot, he said 35. He made a couple of free throws, he said 33. Steve Smith said to himself, wait a minute, if he gets down to 0, that means he put 40 points on me.
They didn't to Magic. They didn't to Duncan. They mean a lot, and that's why Kevin Durant's in Golden State.
I absolutely agree with that. That's why I stated there's a very thin line between wanting to have good numbers or wanting to prove yourself in the NBA and being a crackhead fiend. Russell Westbrook is a crackhead fiend for triple-doubles, man.
I've been very lucky in my career. 30 years doing media. I've worked with great people, smart people, thoughtful people, talented people. But in local TV especially, I noticed this the 14 years I was in it. Some people really cared about winning awards and Emmys.
I agree. In every walk of life, in every vocation, in every workplace, there are always going to be people who are very cognizant of, who care a great deal about individual accolades. It's not just in sports.
They were not untalented, nor were they bad people. But the best coworkers I ever had, and the most talented people I ever had, didn't care about awards.
I agree. You know why? Because when you're gifted, you know that it's very easy for you to do what you just did over again and over again and over again and over again. And that's why you don't need accolades. You don't need people to tell you thanks or I owe this to you. And I say this all the time. You know, certain brothers will come on my channel and they'll say, well, you know, thank you for what you said. You inspired me to start my own business, or you inspired me to take up this vocation. Brother, all that's great. But I get my thanks on the day of judgment when they open up the book of life and they say, this is what you did right and this is what you did wrong. But I appreciate the thanks. Don't get it twisted. I appreciate that. But that's where I get my accolades from, or will, if it be the Lord's will. Here on the earth, we do things every day, exploits good and bad. So as long as you have your mind focused on higher things, then you will not allow yourself to get caught up in the morass. Because at the end of the day, the same people who build you up will try to tear you down. So you can't get caught up in accolades from people.
You knew they could play at the next level. We all knew. Magic, Russell, Duncan, first ballot guys. Westbrook cares deeply. It's why I call him the MV me.
I kind of like that one. I like Crackhead Fiend a little better for Russell, but you know, MV me, that's kind of a go.
Last night there was a moment where he boxed out his own teammate, Carmelo Anthony, to get a rebound. He boxed his own teammate out. Maybe subconsciously, it's just sort of what he does. The MV me. Carmelo...
Look at this shit. Look at this shit. This is why I call him the Crackhead Fiend for triple doubles, a.k.a. the Shrew. Somebody needs to tame that Shrew.
It should be noted, 2 days ago, acknowledged on this show, we had the tape. Yeah, we goose his numbers. And they do it because they know it matters.
Look at that shit. Russell box out his own teammate. Come on, like, damn, can I get one? Just one.
Let me show you another piece of tape. Golden State, Oklahoma City, earlier this year. Westbrook needs 1 assist for a triple-double. Late in the game, he desperately tries to get an assist. KD and Steph are seen laughing at him on the Warrior bench. The gig's up. Everybody gets it. Coaches know, players know, Oklahoma City knows.
Look at KD and Steph on the sideline. They're watching Russ intently. I told you. Russ, within NBA circles, within player circles, amongst the higher level players. And once again, I have Steph Curry and KD above him. Amongst the players on that level, LeBron, KD, Steph, Kawhi, those guys look at Russ and they say he's a great talent, but he's a clown. The players who are underneath his level say, wow, Russ brings it every night. He's an animal out there on the court. He's unbelievable. He inspires me. But the players who operate on a higher level than Russell Westbrook, they look at his flaws. They don't look at his gifts. And that's what a lot of people don't get. Once again, look at Steph and KD on the sideline laughing at his ass.
But they're coddling him because they lost Harden and Kevin Durant.
As soon as Steven Adams made the pass, they lean back and start laughing. Because they see the game on a higher level. I get people come on my channel who try to accuse me of hating on Westbrook. I love Westbrook. I think that he adds great panache to the NBA. He adds great color and flavor. He's like garnish on a meal that you prepare. But he's not the main course. He's not, he's not the beef ribs. He's not the pot roast. He's the garnish on top. He's the onion or the peppers or whatever you put on top of your meal. He's not someone that you want to make the focus of your league when you're trying to market it. That's what I said on another video pertaining to him. But he adds great decor.
And they can't afford to lose a transformative talent, and that he is. But Magic, Russell, Duncan, Bird, Akeem, Stockton never cared about stats.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that they all cared about stats, just not to the degree that he does. But I just want to do a very short, brief video on Westbrook, just in the aftermath of him once again averaging a triple-double, just to provide some insight into what makes him tick. As you can see, he blocked out his own teammate. He wasn't even aware that he was blocking out Carmelo, and I believe that he knew that it was a teammate, but he was so thirsty for rebounds, he was going to do whatever he wanted to do, whatever he needed to do. And in the long run, that style of play, that mentality will not result in championships. I don't care how many players, whether it's Kobe or Allen Iverson, talk about how he's their favorite player. Even Michael Jordan says that he's their favorite player. Well, it's easy to say until you have to play with him. And I think that he's someone who's so talented, so gifted, that he can literally lead a team to 45 wins by himself. But when you add great talent to play with him, he cannot make that team a 65-win team, for the simple fact that he does not know how to properly utilize the teammates that are around him. Now, before he was allowed to fully embrace his MV me persona, there was a time in the early 2010s when he and KD were both healthy, and he was cognizant, he was aware of the fact that he had to get KD the ball, where they had at least 1 or 2 seasons where they won, in the high 50s, maybe even low 60s. But I think that time period is gone. And I don't think that he's going to wake up to how deleterious his mentality has been to his chances of winning a championship until he starts to lose a lot of his athleticism.
You know who did? Wilt Chamberlain. A world-class talent and a world-class flake.
I wouldn't necessarily call Wilt a world-class flake. I would call him an eccentric. But there's a thin line between being an eccentric and being a flake. I will give you that one. But I wouldn't quite call Wilt a flake. I think that he was too intelligent to be a flake per se. And he was not known for making bad decisions down the course of very close, competitive, high-level games. He was known for getting injured when they needed him the most, like he did, I believe, in Game 7 of the 69 finals against the Celtics. But Wilt was definitely an eccentric. I would put him in that same class with LeBron James, a transcendent athlete that you couldn't quite count on in the biggest, most clutch moments, but who will put up astronomical numbers in the regular season.
For all his talent, 100 points a game, 80 multiple times, pro beach volleyball player, could have run track, probably before LeBron, the greatest gifted athlete in the sport's history.
No. Wilt Chamberlain is a greater overall athlete than LeBron James. The things that Wilt can do, still, there are very few athletes that can even no. Wilt Chamberlain was a greater overall natural athlete than LeBron James. There have been very few athletes in the history of professional sports that have even come close, even similar in any way, shape, or form to the exploits of a Wilt Chamberlain.
LeBron, could play the NFL. He could. He was an all-state football player when he played in high school for a year. He could.
There are many all-state football players. That doesn't mean that they could have played in the NFL. Do I believe that LeBron could have played in the NFL? Yes. But trying to qualify your assertion by saying that he was an all-state football player in high school, that's not quite cutting it.
Wilt was the pre-LeBron, and Wilt didn't win many titles, and Wilt was never a good teammate.
Well, Wilt won 2 titles. LeBron has won 3. And Wilt actually played in an era where you couldn't run from team to team if you were not in the right situation.
People never came out and crushed him, never publicly ripped him, but everybody knew.
Well, Wilt was the recipient of his fair share of scrutiny. That's not quite true.
Wilt was into Wilt. By the way, interesting line from the Oklahoma newspaper. Westbrook had 11 rebounds, 12 assists by half. He grabbed 8 in the opening 11 minutes.
They probably had Russell at the opening tip. You're like, did this count for a rebound? If I wouldn't tip, is that a rebound?
His teammates conceded rebounds to him to get Westbrook the record, and Westbrook took full advantage. Of course he did. Yesterday, he got very prickly when asked about his stat padding. Take a listen. This is Westbrook.
People that's talking or saying whatever they need to say, they should try and do it and see how hard it is. Since everybody's everybody wants to be talking, I'm tired of hearing the same old rebound this, stealing rebound, all this.
Hell yeah, it's hard as hell to box out your own teammate, Russ. I'm not sure if I've seen that.
I take pride in what I do. Come out and play, and I get the ball faster than somebody else get to it.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. If you don't want it, I'm going to get it.
Absolutely. Even if you do want it, I'm going to get it. That's your attitude. Carmelo, nigga, get out the way. Get out the way. I got to get this rebound. Shit, I got to get the rebound. Hey, triple-double, triple-double.
All right. What do people get defensive about? Criticism that hits close to home.
Agreed. Certain truths that you're insecure about.
You walk up to a supermodel and say she's unattractive, it's not going to bother her. You walk up to a billionaire and say he's dumb and broke, it's not going to bother him.
Well, it may bother certain supermodels if you tell them that they're unattractive. That's why a lot of them are bulimic and anorexic. You'd be surprised. Many people have a very delusional self-image.
You tell a guy who's obsessed with stats, dude, you're sort of obsessed with stats. And that's the answer you get. The MV me. 748 career games. What a coincidence. He grabbed the most he's ever grabbed last night, and OKC continues to enable and coddle him.
I agree with that. That's the major problem, is that he's being enabled and coddled. But let's be for real. Who are they going to get to sign there as a free agent? They're just trying to make sure that he stays.
Let me shift to this.
But anyway, I just wanted to add that into the lexicon pertaining to Russell Westbrook and some insight into his personality, a window into his mind and his mentality per se. It just had me cracking up when I saw Steph and KD on the sideline laughing, because it just goes to show you how many of the higher level players, the players who are a level above Russell Westbrook, view him. Many of the lower level players, and 99% of players in the NBA are at a lower level than Westbrook, will look at him in awe. But for the very, very few who are above him, they mock him because they know that his style of play is never going to result in victories. Never. Steph Curry could probably average 35 a game if he wanted to, but he has divested a certain level of prestige over to Kevin Durant because he's thinking macrocosmically. Russell Westbrook is not a macrocosmic thinker. He just doesn't get it. I'm not saying that he's a dumb person. He's just not macrocosmic. He does not have a panoramic view of what goes on the basketball court, or what should be going on in regard to how his brain functions, what would help him achieve greater things in basketball. But anyway, peace.